Ta-da! After all that, we're here. It's Wednesday again. John Scott, of course, joined by the one and only Powered for SP3. How are you this week?
It is Wednesday, and you know what that means, John. I am here with you, Powered for SP3, SP3 on your YouTube channels, on multiple different channels. This is my YouTube day. Wednesday is SP3 day, and I am here to talk about some wrestling all around the world with my good brother, John Scott, who looks revitalized this week. I love it.
Well, yes, and for anybody wondering what that was about, basically last week I felt really under the weather, like crazy. I don't know what came over me, and a couple of people said on a podcast that I was a guest on. They were like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine," but I'm much better this week. I'm really looking forward to diving into the crazy world that is professional wrestling. Of course, don't forget, guys, if you want to comment and give any thoughts on some of the stuff we talk about, please do so. Whilst we are on that subject, we've had quite a few comments coming in, SP3, so I will start the show at the top with some questions coming in, and we're going to start with Rambo, who says, I feel like, yeah, exactly, tough Sly fan, I'm sure. I feel like WWE, AEW hurt wrestling today. Tony brags about 1 million, I'm guessing, when in comparison to the 90s is a joke. WCW at its worst at end pulled more, doing post shows telling us no one was seriously hurt. I don't quite get all this question. He does go on. I mean, he's on a real rant this week. They promote to you to buy a pay-per-view. I'm not sure these sentences are making absolute to me anyway. But I'm going to do my best.
They promote to you to buy a pay-per-view where the only selling points are that this is going to definitely hurt. It's all wrong. It shouldn't take me, a fan, to point out these flaws. Sorry was on the negative. Rambo,
blimey.
Rambo, I love your passion, brother. You always bring the passion, whether it's here on Powered for SP3, whether it's on Tru Heel Heat. You are always bringing the passion in the comment section, but we tend to always disagree. But I love the fact that you always come back. You always know that it comes from a very friendly point of view. But I disagree with you. I think that comparing it to how it was back when WCW was around you're already in the wrong, because TV is much different. We have streaming, we have DVR. The TV is a totally different spectrum. AEW getting 1 million today is like WWE or WCW getting 4 million back in the 90s. You need to very much understand that TV is very different and realize that comparing it to the numbers that WCW had is an ill-advised decision, and you're not looking at it the right way, sir. But I do understand your point of view of Tony Khan kind of taking it out of you, that the guys aren't hurt. You want to have that realism. You want to believe in kayfabe. So I definitely understand that part of your criticism here.
Yes. No, I totally agree with what SP3's just said as well. I mean, listen, emphasis on the society we live in today. Streaming TV is a very different, people's viewing habits have changed. We're very much quite lazy now. We get things DVR'd, we watch it in our time, not in their time. So I don't think well, I certainly don't watch Raw live, especially from the UK, I can tell you that much. But even still, I like to be able to forward now and then, you know what I mean? So I like to have that option. Of course, the one and only Brett Thomas, Logan Paul update. I love these updates. I've got a feeling it's going to be a regular addition to our show. Following the altercation between Floyd and his brother Jake, Jake is now banned from ringside for the Logan Paul versus Floyd showdown. Jake is doing recovering well. You know what?
You know more about boxing to me than me, probably, John. But have you ever heard of somebody being banned from ringside on a boxing match?
Never.
On a boxing fight?
Never.
But did you see the altercation?
I did see the altercation, and I thought it was more worked than a wrestling work. That's my interpretation. I know he posted a photo up, Brett, afterwards. I'm sure you saw it. I'm sure that's what you're referring to. I don't know. A lot of people speculating some makeup artists were involved in a little bit of that. And I don't know if Floyd actually grabbed him or if it was more Floyd's guys around him that would have done that in any case. But let me just say this. Off the bat here. Listen, I watched Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor over 4 nights in 4 different cities. And Conor McGregor was really getting under his skin, like so bad. And Floyd did not react once. Never. Not once. Not even when he got smacked on the head in the UK, did not respond. And you're telling me because his cap got flipped off and he ran away with it, that was it. That's going to drive Floyd to go and get him. I mean, I don't know. What do you make of it, SP3?
What they said was the bodyguard punched Jake apparently, but I just found it to be one of the funniest things I've seen all year. Just them talking to each other, the fake animosity, and then the gotcha hat, and it was just, I felt like I was in 5th grade again. Like, gotcha hat, gotcha hat, and then he ran. Oh my god, me and my wife, we watched that so many times, and we were laughing hysterically each and every time. So
it's good entertainment.
We appreciate the update.
Yes, thank you, Brett. And Brett also, I mean, he messaged in our Big Fight Weekly guys with Chris and Stu, and they were like, look, it's not a wrestling match. Jake, even if he was ringside, he can't just come in and whack him with a chair. It's not like wrestling. So I don't really understand, like, if he's banned from ringside. It sounds so wrestling terminology there to me. Maybe he'll line both of them up. I mean, and fight one after another. Maybe a 2-on-1 match. But yeah, the more I see this SB3, the more I see the shenanigans going on for June, the more I think Vince should have got hold of this. Vince should have got hold of this match, and it would have made perfect for them to do this. I really believe that. But in any case, we'll move on. Carnage Pain. Hi, did SB3 find out? Oh, this is the one for you, SB3. Did you find out about the history of New Japan, All Japan? Also, a question for John: will you be doing media at events when they come back? Yes, I shall be when they come back. I'm looking at July at the moment. You will be able to see me out and about again, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, thank you very much, Carnage Pain. So SP3, we sent you on a little bit of you had a little bit of homework assignment almost from last week. What have you come back with us? I think we're all like chomping at the bit. I know Carnage Pain must be, because he's emailed me as well in between all this.
I mean, this is why I didn't, finish college, because I didn't like homework. But here we are. I did look it up, and I did find out that it wasn't really an All Japan, New Japan split. It was basically Inoki and Baba splitting off, and their departures from the Japan Pro Wrestling Alliance promotion, which they were both a part of in 1972. Inoki, on January 13th, 1972, he decided to found New Japan Pro Wrestling. The first New Japan event was Opening Series that took place on March 6, 1972. That's the reason why the beginning of March, every single year, we have the anniversary shows for New Japan Pro Wrestling. On the other hand, All Japan was founded by the Giant Baba and the Momoto brothers when they had joined the Japan Wrestling Alliance in 1960. In October 1972, he left the JWA and formed his own group, which was All Japan, and their first card was on October 21st, 1972. So they were both a part of the Japan Pro Wrestling Alliance, but technically All Japan and New Japan were their own separate entities when both guys left the JWA. Gotcha.
Well done, SP3. I mean, what are we going to give that? An A? An A+? I'm not sure where we give that. It's very, very insightful there. And it's one of those things, I'm surprised we haven't, you don't get too many documentaries. It's kind of hard with Japan, but like, I kind of wish sometimes, like, we get so many good like US and UK documentaries. Europe is still a little bit of a myth sometimes with pro wrestling as well, but I'd love them to sort of go back and do, just get some of this archive footage, get some of the people that were involved, and do some of these kind of those would be documentaries I'd be keen for anyway. That just might be my own personal taste. But thank you very much, SP3. I hope that fulfills you there, Carnage Pain. Rachel Cornell enjoyed Tru Heel Heat A&E review on Booker T. Big plans for Jinder, I'm hearing. Also, any news on WWE possibly coming back sooner with crowds? SummerSlam. I'm not sure what that means. I think SummerSlam is the first one, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say thank you for Rachel. I did see her comments during our A&E review for the Booker T biography, which was I thought it was a pretty strong one. It definitely held up to like the Austin and the Piper ones. Definitely better than the Macho Man one. It did have its own glaring holes. I don't know if we'll talk about that maybe a little bit later. But big plans for Jinder that she mentioned is that Jinder Mahal just returned on Monday Night Raw this week with his new mushroom sized Singh brothers, Shangi and Vera, who are one half of the former Indu share. And apparently Jinder is being built up to have a summertime feud with his former 3MB member, Drew McIntyre. So I don't know if that means that Drew's going to be the WWE champion after this Sunday and feuding with Jinder for the title, or they're going to have their own separate feud without the title. That remains to be seen. And as far as WWE possibly coming back, WrestleVotes did report that WWE is looking at SummerSlam to be the return for touring for WWE. Speculation is that it's supposed to be in the latter half of August, but there also is also some reports that says that SummerSlam may be as early as August 1st. And there's been a couple of rumored sites for it. Madison Square Garden has been rumored by Wrestling Observer Radio, also Las Vegas, as well as other places. But it seems like Las Vegas and Madison Square Gardens are the ones that are getting the most rumors about them. So it should be interesting on where SummerSlam will return with fans in attendance.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait for that. Fifth Gen says A star to you there, SP3, on your
A+.
Your New Japan All Star conclusion. See, you can do well, SP3. You've got it in one there. Go on, mate.
Since we're answering questions and we're giving updates, I do want to update a couple of new updates. I know one of our main talking points, I think it was last week or the week before, was how bad Raw was and my struggles with finding someone to review Monday Night Raw on Tru Heel Heat. I have been blessed. Drunk Guy JJ, happy birthday to him. I want to shout him out.
Happy birthday, Drunk Guy JJ.
It is his birthday. He's in New Orleans having grenades probably up and down the streets of Bourbon Street, but he has decided to grace us once again with his reviews of Monday Night Raw. I've talked to his doctors and I made it clear I am not expecting him to drink shots for the bad segments, and he is actually going to be associated by my good brother Romeo Anthony Colon, and our new series will kick off following WWE WrestleMania Backlash this Sunday, the first Raw after. We will have a review with Romeo and Drunk Guy called Rated Raw Superstars on Tru Heel Heat. So Tru Heel Heat will bring back the Raw reviews. And my man Richie, I will have an announcement on Tru Heel Heat this week where Richie will be contributing to Tru Heel Heat. So I wanted to update you guys. And in great news, Tru Heel Heat is now monetized. We are officially monetized as a YouTube channel, which means we can make some moolah. So help us out. Throw us those super chats on our live stream. We're going to be live this Saturday, Tru Heel Heat 125 with myself, Top Guy JJ, Miss Chrissy Love, and our special guest, Joe Hilbert of Fightful Wrestling. So should be a big one. Nice. Tru Heel Heat 125 this Saturday.
There you go. You heard it here first, people. Go over, check it out. Good. Thankfully, I mean, I don't know how long you're going to have to update me with how he's like. I'm sure when Raw first starts, it's going to be, they'll be at high level. They'll be on top of the world with their battery level. Give it 6 months, SP3. Report back to me how the energy levels are still for Drunk Guy JJ there. You know, I'll be curious. It's 3 hours is a long show, mate. I tell you every week. It's our job. Hard job. Mark Lloyd, is it true Netflix are filming a Vince McMahon documentary? If so, how comes it's Netflix, given WWE are wrapped up with USA, Fox, A&E, even ESPN? Seems strange WWE themselves didn't do this for Peacock, NBC. Oh, it's a mouthful. Yes, they are. They are doing it. I did read this. Like I think it was even the start of this year or the back end of last year that Netflix said. I think the room that Khan used, the word was groundbreaking, which roughly translated means a lot of money. Normally when they say stuff like that, so that's probably why Netflix have got it. SB3, are we gonna? I mean, I think they labelled it as a 4-part documentary, very much along the lines of, like, you know, the other Netflix series we get. The one thing I will say is probably because Netflix are doing it, you might get more of an unbiased view on Vince McMahon. I'm feeling, because I don't know that I think if Netflix have put a lot of money down, I don't think they're going to be like A&E and, you know, NBC and all the rest of it. I think they could probably go in their own direction with the narrative a little bit more. But I don't know. What do you think?
From what I heard when this report was, I did know that is true. I think it was in December of last year that they reported that Netflix are filming a Vince McMahon documentary, but it is supposed to be in association with the WWE. So as I've seen with these A&E biographies, there will be some glaring holes. Even though I enjoyed the Booker T biography, the biggest glaring hole was the fact they didn't do any mention of his most famous feud with Triple H, where Triple H said that people like him can never win the world title, and that he's here to just entertain him and dance, and with his nappy hair and his suckers. They didn't mention that at all, because
I bet they didn't.
Because someone in management was the one that was saying that to Booker, and the fact that in the end Triple H gave him a pedigree and it took 23 seconds to cover him. So there will be some glaring holes in the Vince McMahon documentary. We probably won't hear anything bad about Vince if WWE has anything to do with the production.
Having said that, it's kind of a shame, because it's like Vince McMahon, if there was a book I would really like written on, it would be Vince McMahon. It would be like that, the promoter of promoters, if you like. I'd love to find out what he was really thinking, but I don't think he'll ever disclose it. I really don't, and I don't think you'll ever get the true side. But one thing I will say, I remember the Vince McMahon WWE DVD that they had come out, and you can't get it on there now, I'll tell you that much. But my God, they didn't hold back too much on that. I was quite surprised, especially with that ridiculous storyline that was on, like, I don't think it was in the documentary, but it was like a deleted scene where they spoke about Stephanie McMahon pregnancy and Vince wanting to claim he was the dad. I mean, that's not the sort of thing WWE normally would, you'd think somebody would be over the top going, I don't think we should leave that in, Vince. We should take that out. So who knows what we're going to get. And what made me think of a book was Mark's next question, which is also, can you recommend me a good wrestling book? I will recommend you one if you haven't read it, and that's Bret Hart's. He's one of the few people at the time when it came out that spoke about money in it, and I was quite interested to hear about some of the payoffs and all the rest of it from back then. SP3, any good recommendations your end for a good wrestling book? Are you a book person?
I was in my youth. I had all the WWE biographies that came out. My first one that I ever got was Mankind, Have a Nice Day.
I knew you was going to say that.
Which was definitely, that would be my first recommendation. A really good one that is more recent if you want a little history and if you want the real story on what happened in WCW, not what they told you in the Booker T A&E biography. I would check out The Death of WCW by Brian Alvarez. That one is a really good book.
I've heard that one as well before. And Fifth Gen here, thanks for watching again as usual. Are either one of you excited for any of the matches at WrestleMania Backlash? If so, why? Well, we'll probably get to that, Fifth Gen. We're going to do like a quick preview. I can't say there's anything for me that I'm particularly excited about, so I can't really give you much there as a little hint. But SP3, you a scale of 1 to 10 for this week's WrestleMania Backlash, not just Backlash, but WrestleMania Backlash.
As far as excitement, 1 through 10, I'm at a solid 4.
Okay, the only way could go up, I reckon, from there. I hope.
4.
Yeah, I hope
that
so.
was down to a 3 on Monday, but it's back up to a 4 because I realized that SmackDown does have matches on this card.
Yeah, no, you're right. And we've got 5th Gen. Hope everybody is doing well. Lewis Young, thank you, Lewis. Hi, John and SP3. Very good. Okay, well, let's get in. Let's go to the first one. We've spent some good time here with you guys. Keep them coming in nonetheless. But we've got the AEW returning to the road for Dynamite. Of course, we had a quick question earlier about WWE returning, but AEW have already announced. I believe even MLW had announced as well. So a couple of shows will be going on before WWE at this rate. I've got a feeling Vince might speed it up, when he sees this landing on his desk the following morning, hang on a minute. But yeah, tell us more about this then, SP3, the returning Dynamite. I mean, for me, I'm kind of like, I can't wait for fans to get back personally, just because when you get WrestleMania, I thought, wow, it was such a breath of fresh air. And then we went back to Raw, and it was just like, oh man, it's just so difficult. At the same time, people's safety is, high priority here. So I don't want to see it, ridiculous, crazy, risks taken for the sake of wrestling. But I am personally looking forward to just seeing fans there reacting, as a larger crowd than what we've seen so far. What about you, my friend?
I mean, AEW's secret weapon for their shows, especially in the early portion of Dynamite, was the crowd. The crowd was just into everything, and that's why we saw the creation of stars like Orange Cassidy. Guys got over like Jungle Boy, MJF, Darby Allin. So it's really big for AEW to be back in front of fans outside of Daly's Place, which has been their home for the past over a year. With 9 months of that year, they've had limited capacity events, ticketed events, but now this week they announced that they will be returning to live events on the road starting this summer, kicking off on Wednesday, July 7th in Miami, Florida at the James L. Knight Center. Dynamite will be also on the road in Cedar Park, Texas at the HBB Center on Wednesday, July 14th. And it arrives at the Curtis Caldwell Center in Garland, Texas on Wednesday, July 21st. AEW also released in their press release that they were going to have other events this summer. So it's a big time for AEW. Those tickets for all 3 of those shows will go on sale this coming Friday. So, this is, if Blood and Guts is any indication, the fans really are going to be excited to see AEW live. Even being in Jacksonville for all these months with limited capacity crowds, they had more, fans in attendance for Blood and Guts than any of the events that they've had at Daly's Place. And the reaction was very noticeable, especially for the Blood and Guts match, for guys like Orange Cassidy, like I mentioned before, and Kenny Omega being able to have a live promo in front of fans. I think that was the best that his heel character has come across. So AEW just has a whole different feeling when it's in front of a live capacity crowd, and it's just going to be so much fun for these shows in the summer to just see the fans. They're going to be excited. They're going to be revved up. It's going to be nuclear type of reactions, hot crowds. And I just think that the performers, like guys like FTR, Matt Hardy, Miro, these are performers that have never been in front of a capacity crowd outside of Daly's Place for AEW. They're going to be so motivated to go out there and show their best, to show that they want the fans to feel appreciated and feel welcome back. So they're going to perform at the top level. Double or Nothing is going to have the largest capacity crowd that AEW has had since this whole global pandemic. So Double or Nothing is going to be huge at Daly's Place. But these shows in July and then going through the summer and to the end of the year, I just feel like AEW television, which has been, in my opinion, the best weekly show in professional wrestling, they're going to be even better in the summer when they're in front of crowds outside of Daly's Place.
Yeah, amen to that. I agree. No, I think they're definitely. I mean, I don't think it's just, I think wrestling in general, fans, they want to get back there as quick as they can, I believe, in person. So that, whether I talk to a lot of indie promoters right now, and at every level for the shows that have got tickets, I mean, they are booming right now because there is just like a thirst to get back and watch wrestling in person live, obviously with precautions and all the rest of it. But however, there's definitely like a rejuvenation, if you like, to go back and watch it again. And we might see for a little while, at least the first couple of weeks, in larger gathering audience of wrestling, that like the crowd is maybe a little bit different to what we're used to. Maybe they get behind more of the people they should, and all the rest of it. And you might see like just a regenerated sort of crowd noise in all that. But we'll see. Now, talking of AEW, blood and guts or blood and duds. Interesting one. Now, I said last week, I thought they couldn't go wrong with that match. I thought it would definitely outdo NXT's one. Do you know what, though? I'm going to get it off my chest early on here. I'm going to, call it out. I enjoyed the whole match up until the point where we saw that dud at the end. But you know what? It's like I didn't let it take away my enjoyment. Let's put it that way. Having said that, maybe if I was a fan and I put my money down and all, maybe I would have been slightly more disappointed. But for me, I wasn't too you got to look at the whole thing. I wasn't too cut up about it. If I'm completely honest. Yes, listen, lesson learned. One thing I'll say, I know everybody gets on AEW's back, but look, AEW, they're in 2 years worth of the game at the minute in doing TV. Yeah, it ain't easy. It's bloody hard. And WWE have got 20, 30 years worth at least at top end doing this TV stuff. And they're at a point now where I actually think they're too perfect. It's ridiculous, but that's where we're at. That's the levels in experience. So I think it's lesson learned. And these things happen. It's not the first time. I mean, I remember watching Money in the Bank last year, flipping WWE, and supposedly Rey Mysterio got chucked off the side of the building. You just heard a splat. You didn't know where he went. So, I don't know why everybody goes crazy just because it's AEW, but it wasn't the greatest looking thing. It weren't a great advert for wrestling, but it's one thing, isn't it? That everybody's pounced on. What did you make of the show overall, Mr. SP3?
I very much enjoyed the show. I very much enjoyed the main event. I think the main event was only led down by the production team. I don't think that Jericho taking a bump from 20 feet in the air should be without a crash pad. I think that's the smart thing to do to protect a 50-year-old performer who's one of your top stars. That's just what you're supposed to do. I just think that the production failed them on the camera, the way the camera caught that it was an obvious crash pad. And the production team was really off throughout this match with a lot of their camera cuts at strange times. It felt like I was watching a WWE match with the amount of camera cuts. It was like Kevin Dunn was producing this match. And some of the, I won't say that I'm I was in outrage like I saw a lot of people on Twitter at the commercials, but the timing of some of the commercials was just off. In particular, the commercial that they timed when Wardlow was coming into the match, and he had a highlight moment where he's 1 against 4 and he takes out everybody in the inner circle. That's a moment that really puts over Wardlow. And you guys in the UK were able to catch that because Fight TV doesn't have commercials, while me in the US watching it on TNT, that's a full commercial break where I have to pay attention to the small little screen like I'm in right here. For you guys watching us right now, this is the small screen without the sound that I had to watch to see Wardlow's really highlight moment of the entire match. And I felt like that was just a badly timed commercial. I felt like Jericho waiting to climb up to the top of the cage was badly timed because he had to wait there until they came back from commercial on TNT. And overall, even though it fit story because MJF said that he was going to knock Jericho off the mountaintop for him to push him off the cage, I didn't necessarily feel like the match had to end on top of the cage, especially for it being the first blood and guts match. You have this cage with a roof on it. It should be about keeping the guys contained in this prison-like structure and having the surrender happen there. I felt like they kind of overthought it, where I love the psychology of the ending with Sammy Guevara surrendering to keep his mentor Chris Jericho safe. And I think that it very much sets up a hot grudge match between MJF and Sammy Guevara, which has been building for months at Double or Nothing. But it just felt a little bit off, and a lot of the certain spots in the match, like the unprotected chair shots, kind of took me out of it because of what we know about unprotected chair shots. So that's a lot of my negatives, and it might sound like a lot of negatives, but I really love this match, and they did what NXT has not been able to do in 4 years and make it feel like War Games. NXT has created its own thing, and it's great that William Regal is able to say War Games every single year. It's fun. It makes for a great spot. Whoopee! And we know what to expect with these War Games with NXT. You expect someone to fly off the cage. You expect a whole bunch of weapons. You expect big bumps, big moves, big spots, but it doesn't feel like war. It doesn't feel like a grudge. And literally, I think it pretty much, outside of the first one where it was like Sanity and Undisputed Era in it, it's been Undisputed Era against a team that never stays together after War Games. So at least with this, it felt like two warring factions. It felt like two teams that had a grudge against each other, and it felt like the traditional War Games of the past. It felt like Sting's Squadron versus the Dangerous Alliance. It felt like Dusty and his boys versus the Four Horsemen. This felt like a traditional old school War Games, and I credit AEW for that. I love the bloodletting. It made it feel visceral, and it gave us what they promised. And I feel like it 100% guaranteed. It just was a little bit of adjustments to make, and I do agree with you as well, John. I feel like fans try to keep AEW at a WWE standard, which is straight wrong. WWE's had a 30-year head start on AEW. Why are we judging them like they've been around for 35 years and not 2 years? Of course they're going to make these mistakes. But what we have seen from AEW, they've been able to recover from other mistakes. I felt like they recovered very well from the dud explosion at Revolution, and I feel like they will recover well from the obvious crash bags that they had the camera angle on with Jericho and MJF.
Yes, no, totally. And the last point on that, I would say commercials and wrestling do not mix. I do not like it when they run bloody commercials during the matches. You know, I was thinking to myself, maybe they'll do the whole, do you remember Wayne's World, where they, you know, just start marketing Coke or Pepsi on the screen and they just do it. Maybe they'll do that in wrestling. Maybe they'll just cut away. Jericho will look to the camera and go, I'm taking a break. I'm going to have some nice Coca-Cola and then gets back into the match. Maybe that's the way they need to go with this stuff. Who knows? But yeah, we will see. But I think they'll recover easily. I don't think anybody will be talking about this in the next couple of weeks. It's just one of those things. It's just glaringly obvious. And obviously there's plenty of pictures going around. I'm sure they'll never let that one rest. Anyway, in the archives. Next up, NXT Recap, of course, from last night, SB3. What happened? What grabbed your eye this week on NXT? And obviously, going forward, what have we got? You praised it very highly last week, as I recall.
Yeah, and I have to give them credit. They exceeded even what we saw last week. I felt last week had a great beginning with the opener with Ruff and Swerve, the ending with the new women's tag team champions in the way. We had a solid tag team match with Ciampa and Thatcher versus Grizzled Young Veterans. And I feel like this week was even better because everything kind of hit for me. They started off things with, Karrion Kross getting the dominant win over Austin Theory. But more important than that was the post-match angle where they set up Balor versus Kross 2 in 2 weeks' time. And this is something that I have to give NXT a boatload of credit and praise for. They have been doing so well since they moved to Tuesday nights in promoting a week ahead or 2 weeks ahead. It helps so much with the storytelling. It helps so much with the flow of the show. You know that you're building to stuff. They made the announcement, first reported actually by my new good friend, the Dong Lord, Sean Rossap of Fightful Wrestling. Don't believe WWE because they're saying first reported by Barstool Sports. And credit to those guys at Barstool Sports and the Wrestling Podcast. They do great work, but they weren't the first to report it. It was Sean Rossap. He was the first to report that NXT TakeOver in Your House will return this year on June 13th. So we know 5 weeks out that we have a takeover to go into. So that was big that they announced that here. Then I think like the first really good match on the night was Breeze Angle versus MSK. I felt like it was a whole lot of fun. Both of those teams worked well together. The highlight of the match was, of course, the referee Sharma doing a leapfrog in the middle of the match. It really felt like I was watching like PWG or some independent show where the referee used to be a wrestler and they wanted to do a cool spot for him. You had Pete Dunne have a extended squash against Leon Ruff, who is wrestling hurt due to what happened last week with Swerve Scott. But this was a great highlight matchup, showcase match for Pete Dunne, who continues to get momentum, and he's really been cutting really strong promos. Me and Alex McCarthy, who I got a shout out as well. Happy birthday to Alex McCarthy! It's a
I
day
heard
of
the
birthday.
rumor. The little birdie told me it's his birthday today.
Yes, it's drunk guy and Alex McCarthy. It's a great day for drinking. Alex is Irish and drunk guy is drunk somewhere. So yes, so great day. We always talk about Pete Dunne being this generation's Chris Benoit, and his promo work kind of feeds into that. So that was really good. I thought Mercedes Martinez and Raquel Gonzalez had great intensity in their women's championship matchup. It was just fine though overall, because I felt like there was a couple of like awkward spots throughout this one that kept it back from being like a good match, but it was great intensity and a decent matchup between the two ladies. A strong victory for Raquel in her first title defense. The highlight of the night for me, outside of what I'll say about the main event, was Swerve Scott and his new group Hit Row. Just a great promo, just excellent. I love when you introduce a new faction and you give them time to kind of introduce themselves and give their mission statement. And this is what they did here. And the way this was shot in like a kind of like a battle rap type of shot with you had Top Dollar kind of dropping his bars on him in his first promo on NXT. You had Fab, the female, she was great on the mic. Shante D. Adonis, this was probably the best he's ever looked. And Swerve Scott just looks like such a superstar being surrounded by these people who are pretty much his lackeys. He's the leader of the group. The transformation that Swerve Scott has taken over the past 6 months has been amazing to watch. And this felt like kind of everything coming to fruition for him. So it was a great part of the show and one of the highlights of this entire episode. I also, one of the other highlights, what's been a highlight every single week for me on NXT, is Cameron Grimes and Ted DiBiase, the feud that will never end. This time, Ted DiBiase outbidding Cameron Grimes $20 million for a new oceanfront house. I don't care how it happens. I don't care in what ways they do it. Keep these Grimes and DiBiase vignettes coming, because these are great every single week. I really enjoyed Oni Lorcan and Kyle O'Reilly. I think they had a crisp matchup, less than 10 minutes, good technical wrestling, and we saw the return of Bobby Fish. I really enjoyed the stare down between O'Reilly and Fish, kind of, teasing that they might get back together, but letting them go their separate ways for now. That was very nice. And then finally, the main event for the Cruiserweight Championship, 2 out of 3 falls, Santos Escobar versus Kushida. This might have been the best match that I've seen on NXT television since probably O'Reilly and Balor at the beginning of the year, or unless you count TakeOver Stand and Deliver with Walter and Ciampa. This was a TakeOver quality type of matchup. These guys went out there. They had a great story to tell. They had brilliant in-ring action. I love the use of MSK and the rest of the Legado del Fantasma very early, kind of taking them out and letting the two guys wrestle and focus in. The way that Kushida works over the arm, it's just unseen in wrestling today. Like I come from a generation where the first wrestlers I saw like for WCW was like Ric Flair and Sting, and in all their matches, Flair worked the leg to lead up to the figure four for Sting to make his great comeback. And it's a reversal because Kushida is a babyface, but the way he works over the arm is similar to the way Flair used to work over the leg back in the 80s and early 90s. And he just does it in such a great way, such unique ways, innovative ways to work over the arm. And he could beat you with various ways, because he got his first fall with the cross arm breaker. He kept going for the hoverboard lock, which Santos Escobar escaped from it. And then eventually he caught him in basically an arm trap suplex with the bridge for the 1-2-3 to get his second fall and to win the 2 out of 3 falls match. Such a great match, such a fantastic way to kind of close the book on Santos Escobar in the cruiserweight division. I'm hoping that he goes up to either the North American title if Bronson Reed wins next week against Johnny Gargano in the steel cage, or he goes after the NXT championship because he has unfinished business with Karrion Kross. I think Santos Escobar is in for big things on NXT, and this was probably his best match yet.
There you go. Well, sounds very good there, SP3. High praise. And I agree, since they've been not reacting or reacting to AEW week to week on that night, I just think, like, look, they can just focus on themselves. And I just think whatever's happening there now is so much better. The calmer level. Stop this ridiculous rivalry all the time, hopefully that continues and they don't both end up on the same night again further down the line, but let's hope for that. Okay, we're going to be back finishing off the show. We're just going to cut to a quick break, folks, and myself and SP3 will be straight back straight after this.
We are about the love of pro wrestling. We are the pre-match entrance and the post-match interview. We are the passion. We are the fun. We are Pete Dunne. We are the tricks, the risks, the crunching drop kicks. We are the wrestling show display. We are Mariah May. We are the spine buster, flailing punch, and brutal knee. We are watching for the count of 3. We are the art in the ring. We are the bright lights. We are the squared circle and the life of the fight. To re-watch our favorite wrestlers' moments, to live and breathe through the eyes of their opponents. We build the vision for you to explore here at Powered 4.
There you go, Powered4.TV. Don't forget to sign up now. Use one and only code here. It's very, very simple. We say this each and every week. Use this code, SP3. I mean, it's literally there on the screen, the whole thing, the whole time. You can see it. SP3. Just look at the man. SP3, exactly. Sign up now, 50% off your first month. And I've got a bit of an announcement to make. I said yesterday I would be announcing something that's going to be dropping this Saturday on Powered4.TV. Drum roll. Well, I haven't got a drum, so exactly. Thank you, SP3. Sound effects and all. This week on Saturday, we got first time ever Super 2, and yeah, it's going to be really, really good. Our good friend over there, we saw last time Suicide in action, which was fantastic. Franco Varga, of course, himself in action again. It's going to be a great show, and well recommend people go over, check that out this Saturday. Not only will you get this show, but you will also get another 25 promotions as well. So go ahead, check that out this Saturday on Powered4.TV. And furthermore, whilst we're talking about Powered4.TV, people have been asking me about upcoming events. We've also got this coming in from Chicago, all in from your end of the pond there, SB3 from Chicago. The second worth of tapings will be done by Mr. John Bullard himself, the promoter there. Can't wait for that to get in. I'm really looking forward to seeing the one and only, the Chicago Connection Zone, Jonathan Hudson. And from the UK, we've just got announced TNT Extreme Wrestling, what they've got coming up. As you can see, quite a lot coming up this year just with them. Also, not only will they have these events available, but they will run another 2 shows every weekend after these big events. So lots and lots of wrestling to look forward to that will all be dropping on Powered4.TV. And furthermore, as well, for anybody who didn't see last week's big announcement, we've now got PW4U, which is also available on Powered4.TV. Over 35 shows now available on Powered4.TV. So go and check that out. And don't forget, guys, real simple, just use the code, as I always say, very, very simply, SP3. That's right, SP3. There you go. Yes, thank you very much for everybody. Just going to take a quick few comments here. So what we've got coming in. Let's have a look. We've got Fifth Gen Blood and Guts was great until Jericho got in the cage, then seemed to slow things down a little bit. I would have enjoyed it much more if they'd have just stayed in the cage. Yeah, I mean, I think it's debatable. I mean, I'm a little bit of an old school fan, so I'm going to kind of more side to agree with that, because I feel like the going outside the cage thing is like you can work up to that maybe in the second time you do it, or do you know what I mean? You don't want to throw it all out in one go all the time. Who's this? Albert Barlow. Hey, John, this is Bert from The Art of Partying. Chris is my co-host from Big Fight Weekly. Want to take the time to thank you for all the contributions and hope to have you on the part of the partying, Art of the Partying, to have a beer. This sounds like the sort of show as well that drunk guy JJ would be very much at home with. I mean, this sounds like party atmosphere. I think we'll all be down for that on a day like this. So yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. And lastly, Fifth Gen Hit Row is something that is exciting. NXT. Yeah, I agree. I think they've got some good stuff going on there. Totally. So yeah, very, very good. Let's move on into our next subject. And of course, it's the state at the moment, unfortunately, in Japan, leads to New Japan cancellations. Obviously, I did quickly go and check out some news, what I could find about this SP3. It's a very sporadic kind of news, depending on where you find your outlet from. But tell us a little bit about what you've heard and what this means for New Japan going forward at the minute.
So basically, there's a state of emergency in Tokyo, which has basically put a cancellation on the 2 upcoming huge shows that New Japan was going to run. They were going to run 2 stadium shows in the month of May. on May 15th, which was this coming Saturday. It was going to be the first night of Wrestle Grand Slam in Yokohama Stadium. Then they were going to have their second big stadium show on May 29th at Tokyo Dome, Wrestle Grand Slam Night 2, which was going to have Will Ospreay defend the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Kazuchika Okada in a rematch from Wrestle Kingdom 15. So it's kind of disappointing that these shows have been canceled, but we got to understand that there's been a hike in the COVID-19 cases in Japan. They don't really have the same vaccinations supply, I would say, or basically procedures that we have here in the US or you guys have out there in the UK. I feel like the UK is kind of in the lead. US is kind of far back from you guys, but still behind you guys. But Japan is behind both of us, and that's the reason why the state of emergency has been in place. Of course, this is to keep the people safe. So definitely, our prayers and definitely our thoughts is out there to everyone out there in Japan that they're staying safe. And there's a good reason why this has been a state of emergency and why these events have been canceled. So hopefully they can get things, back on track, back on the right pace, so that we can have these big shows come maybe in June or even later this summer, possibly, because this also puts in danger the fact that Tokyo is supposed to have the Olympics this summer. So it's a very interesting time for them right now. Yeah,
no, you're totally right. Let me ask you quickly, this might sound a bit of a stupid question, but have New Japan, they haven't done anything with no fans, have they? Would they ever even think about doing stuff like that? They did.
Yeah, they did at the beginning of the whole pandemic. It wasn't the same, honestly. They did the New Japan Cup last year in an empty arena, and I felt like New Japan is the type that even with the fans with restrictions, like they can't yell, they can't cheer, they can only clap or stomp, is better than empty arena. I really enjoyed Yuji Nagata versus Minoru Suzuki, Tomohiro Ishii versus Hiromu Takahashi, Tomohiro Ishii versus El Desperado, and Hiromu versus Okada were all great matches that were done in the empty arena era for New Japan during the New Japan Cup last year. But those matches were few and far between, and it just overall the New Japan shows didn't have the same aura or feeling without fans. So it is possible that they can go back to empty arenas, but I think it's best for them to wait till they're able to at least have limited capacity crowds, because in New Japan, it's all about the feeling of the crowd, and it's something that they can't simulate like AEW has been able to do with their competitors in the crowd. It's just not something that New Japan has done or seems willing to do.
No, absolutely. No, I agree with that. And lastly, coming up here, we've got of course, this week's WM. I've got this on the ticker here. I don't know why it's done that. It did this last week, didn't I? I said, I need to sort that out. Happened again. WrestleMania Backlash Preview. It's not just Backlash, it's WrestleMania Backlash. I love the fact they've added that on there to sort of, I don't know, do they think that's going to spice up anything? In terms of volume, I'm not sure to add that on, but to me, if that's added, it kind of dilutes it, because I just think if I was just a casual fan, I'd think, oh, that's just going to be a rehash of WrestleMania, then all the best matches we saw happening again. But let's give us a quick preview then to sort of summarize the end of the show. What have we got coming up? What are you most looking forward to for this week's WrestleMania Backlash SP3?
So convoluted.
We know you're on a 4. We know you're on a 4, but
so convoluted to call it WrestleMania Backlash. It's just it's so obvious that this is WWE's attempt to just make more money off the WrestleMania name. They couldn't think of anything creative, so there's WrestleMania Backlash. What's better than Backlash? WrestleMania Backlash. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the Universal Championship matchup between Roman Reigns and Cesaro. I feel that Roman Reigns is on a hell of a run when it comes to his catalog of matches. In just this year alone, from the Royal Rumble against Kevin Owens in their last man standing match, his great matchup against Daniel Bryan at Fastlane, and 2 weeks ago on SmackDown, his great match, the main event of WrestleMania 37 against Bryan and Edge. And I feel like this one will go along with those and be able to really. Roman Reigns is having a Wrestler of the Year campaign right now. His character is on point. His promo work has been superb. And he's just put on stellar contests that are just filled of storytelling, full of emotion. And I feel like Cesaro is on a hell of a run himself. He had a great match with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Really good match with Seth Rollins this past week on the Throwback SmackDown. And he looked incredibly strong to end the show, taking out both Usos as well as Roman Reigns. So he has a hell of a momentum. I feel like this is just the proper showcase for him. His first big world championship one-on-one matchup on pay-per-view, and he's versing a guy that's on the top of his game. This match has all the makings to be a hidden gem of the year, or at the highest, probably a match of the year candidate, because these are two of the best that WWE has to offer. But I think the WWE Championship triple threat match will be really good as well. Braun Strowman is in there to make it different from WrestleMania, so I give WWE credit for at least tweaking it a little bit. But Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre have always produced good to great matches. They had a great match at WrestleMania, a really fun match this past week on Raw, and I just feel like Braun Strowman being in there, doing his big spots, being the heavyweight slugfest type of brawling that he can bring into play. This will be a very fun WWE Championship matchup. I feel the Raw Women's Championship match will be a really good one as well. Rhea Ripley and Asuka have not meshed the best in their singles matches, but adding Charlotte Flair in there will bring a little bit of an extra element that may make it a little bit better than what we've seen thus far. Bianca Belair has a huge opportunity versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I'm not looking forward to Damian Priest versus The Miz at all. I feel like Damian Priest has versus Miz or Morrison ad nauseum since he's debuted on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've watched this match 47 different times, and making a lumberjack match does not make it better. And I also feel that we're going to see a big title change where the Mysterios are going to become the first ever father-son tag team champions, defeating the Dirty Dogs. I feel like Dirty Dogs have been decent transitional champions, but it's time to put them on a team that can really make something of them, and putting it on the Mysterios will set up for a great moment, which I feel will be the Usos eventually beating the Mysterios for those SmackDown tag team titles. So the family and the head of the table, the tribal chief, will have all the gold on SmackDown, which will be perfect.
No, I totally agree. I think there's a couple. I mean, I'm more interested in the female matches, I'd probably say, for this Sunday. I'm kind of like interested to see like Bianca Belair, where she's at, given how over she was at WrestleMania. Like, I'm hoping WWE do a good job, but it's going to be difficult without the fans that were around her at the time. You know, her dad running in, all the rest of it. Like, it's going to be hard to capture that again. But I kind of hope they do a good job of protecting some of these champions now for a little while, because when I actually looked at the WWE list of champions, like, I'd actually say most of them I'd consider quite strong. Even down to Walter at NXT UK, to Lashley, they got this thing about them where they're kind of protected a little bit more. The Rhea Ripley, for instance. I'm trying to think of the other people we got. Sheamus, isn't it, at the moment? Who else have we got? I think on the other side. But when I just looked down there, I thought this is one of the few times where I feel like they look kind of legit champions. There's nobody that I'm kind of thinking that's gonna move, apart from the tag team scene, of course. That's something to itself. But yeah, I feel like for a change, WWE in a good position here. If they do things correctly, timing at SummerSlam, this could be key to push a lot of those buttons, and hopefully that's what they do. But having said that, I know our WWE can be quite impatient, and they like to do things early. Seeing Jinder Mahal back, as you said at the start of the show, I know we spoke about him. It's kind of cool, but again, it's like, I don't know. I remember when he was last there, I actually thought he was going to roll into that WrestleMania. And by the time it got to that WrestleMania, when he was the WWE champion, like the year before or whatever, and he had all this momentum, and I thought I just had this imagery. I thought, oh, they'll do this crazy spectacle, coming in the entrance way, the whole Indian theme will be there. No, they don't. They just chuck it away. And Jinder Mahal, I think, was doing something like, I don't know if he was in the Battle Royal or something like that. I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't
in
fantastic. I can't remember.
A four-way for the U.S. title, where he won the U.S. title at WrestleMania.
Okay,
34.
yeah. So it's kind of one of those things, when the machine's behind you, it's great, but when it's not, it's like, where do you lie after that? And I kind of feel it's a little bit like that with Jinder. I'm sure he will get a bit of a push because he's fresh again, but I don't know how far that will all go. But yeah, we are at the end of the show now, folks. I want to thank everybody who's contributed to us here on Powered4SP3. You'll see me again next week. Don't forget the show coming up this Saturday, first time ever. Check that out on powered4.tv. SP3, what have you got coming up this week, my friend?
Well, you could catch me later at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. GMT on the Wrestling Daily YouTube channel with Alex McCarthy. We're going to be celebrating his birthday. We're going to be talking the latest in wrestling news. We'll talk a little bit more about NXT and, of course, a great debate, because we got to have a great debate on a great day where a legend was born, and that legend is Alex McCarthy. And then immediately following Wrestling Daily, your boy will be live on Quizzlemania at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
You're back on it again.
1 p.m.
Chris Van Blue as well. You got quite a few people turning up here.
I got some fierce competition. You got Sullivan Brown. You got the esteemed interview king Chris Van Vliet, and of course the dominant champion that is SRS Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Wrestling. The most handsome Quizzlemania ever. So I have fierce competition. I'm going in there with the goal to bring more people back over to Powered4 TV to subscribe to the YouTube channel, become a part of the subscription on the site, as well as push Wrestling Daily YouTube channel to 15K, push Tru Heel Heat to 2K. I'm not going in with my sights on the gold, even though my knowledge of wrestling is very strong. I just feel that they will not do a lot of wrestling trivia. They would just try to trip me up with shenanigans. So I'm prepared for that. So
you gotta expect that.
I'm going in with goals, with larger goals besides winning.
Yes, no, absolutely. You got to expect that. And Rachel Cornwell, big compliment here. How did you get so good at being a content creator, SP3? There you go.
Sweet of you. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that. How did I get so good? Doing it a lot. Just keep creating content. Keep talking about whatever you're passionate about. I'm actually thinking about a second YouTube channel now that I kind of hit the goals for Tru Heel Heat.
Now he's really pushing it out now.
Yeah, folks. I'm thinking of other stuff that I'm passionate about, like basketball, TV, movies. I'm a big fan of MTV The Challenge. I love talking about stuff like that. So I'm thinking of other things, but content creation, I really feel like it comes down to how often you do it, and that's how you become good at it. I don't think I'm good at it yet, but I'm getting there, and I appreciate compliments like
as
that.
Well, isn't he? Modest as well.
I appreciate compliments like that, but you can also see me later this week on the Fightful Wrestling YouTube channel with Sean Ross Sapp following SmackDown. We're going to be reviewing SmackDown this week on Fightful. And of course, like I said at the top of the show, Tru Heel Heat 125, me, myself, Top Guy JJ, and our special guest, Joe Hubert of Fightful Wrestling. He's going to be on there. So big stuff coming up this week from Tru Heel Heat, Wrestling Daily, Sports Heater Wrestling, Powered4 TV. We all over the
everywhere.
place.
He's everywhere. He's all over the place. Yeah, I think if I was going to do another content, and I have thought about it, so stay tuned, folks, but it will be in films. I'm a bit of a film buff, so I'm kind of like dabbling around the idea of doing some film trivia stuff and going back in time and watching some classic stuff, but that would be my thing. Thank you as always, SP3, for coming on, sharing your thoughts, your wisdom, your knowledge. Of course, the Oracle of Wrestling. Pass on birthday regards to Alex McCarthy later. I'm sure it'll be a blast. I'm sure there'll be a few drinks thrown around and good times, no doubt about it. And thank you everyone that's watched. Don't forget to check out Tru Heel Heat. If you haven't checked out the A&E review as well, go and do that now. Booker T, the latest one. Who have we got next week, SP3?
We got Shawn Michaels next week, and we're going to be live. I keep forgetting stuff that I do. This always takes longer, but yes, I'll be Friday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. GMT. I'm going to be on Sports Keto Wrestling YouTube channel with Pete Quinnell of Wrestle Talk. We're going to do a full preview of WrestleMania Backlash, and then immediately following that, I'll be on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel live to review Dark Side of the Ring on Nick Gage. That's going to be a good one as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look forward to that. So Shawn Michaels next week. That should be pretty exciting. The one thing I'll just quickly add before we go out, I heard that A&E have different directors do each episode. So that's kind of why some of them are very different from each other. Because I was thinking like, one has loads of talking heads, some of the others don't, and they, so I guess that's kind of why we get the inconsistency. But I'm looking forward to Shawn Michaels, I guess. I don't know how much more stuff I don't know about him, but I'm sure there'll be something thrown in there or something hidden up. Nonetheless, but thank you as always, SP3. Thank you for everybody for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week, folks.